Welcome to the 10 Days Before Christmas, a collection of modern BL short stories, told softly between falling snow, quiet lights, and those small moments where everything can change. Each day leading up to Christmas, a meeting, a pause, a confession, a simple story, but never an ordinary one. Take a breath. Settle in. Here is today's story.
Day 5. The Ex Who Still Knows My Sweet Tooth. Caleb didn't expect to see him there. The bakery was warm in that particular way winter places always were, windows fogged with sugar and breath, the air thick with butter, yeast, and a low note of coffee that cut gently through the sweetness. Trays of pastries lined the counter, glossy and indulgent, their edges catching the light like they'd been brushed with care, while the steady murmur of an espresso machine anchored the room in something comforting and awake. Caleb stepped inside out of habit. 2 years away hadn't erased it. Neither had the job. Neither had the distance. He was back in town for the holidays, staying with his parents, slipping into routines he'd once sworn he'd outgrown. This stop was meant to be small. Coffee, something sweet, a pause before the cold closed in again during his morning walk. He scans the room absently. Then his attention snagged on the corner table, and stalled. Harry sat by the window, one hand wrapped around a coffee cup, the other resting near a small plate stacked with chocolatines, flaky, golden, unmistakably half gone. Sugar dusted the edge of the plate like evidence. Caleb slowed without meaning to. That didn't make sense. In his memory, Harry didn't like sweets. He used to say sugar made him restless, distracted. Pleasure, he claimed, pulled focus from things that mattered. Caleb had always teased him for it, breaking off pieces of dessert and offering them anyway, amused by the way Harry would refuse but still smile. Caleb frowned. He took a hesitant step closer, then another, close enough now to be sure this wasn't nostalgia playing tricks on him. Harry looked up. Surprise crossed his face, real, unguarded, before it softened into something familiar. "Caleb," he said. The sound of his name landed heavier than Caleb expected, cushioned by warmth and sugar and the intimacy of a place built for lingering. Caleb gestured toward the plate before he could stop himself. "Since when do you eat chocolatines?" Harry blinked, then smiled, crooked and unguarded. "Since you left, apparently." That answer lingered. Caleb should have turned around. He felt the option clearly, clean, intact, sensible. Instead, Harry shifted in his chair. "Sit," he said gently. "Please." Caleb hesitated, then nodded once. Before doubt could catch up, Harry stood. "Let me," he said, already moving toward the counter. "They still make your favorite." Caleb watched him go, unease curling low in his stomach. Harry didn't ask. He ordered with quiet confidence, a mini fruit tart, a chocolatine still warm, and a coffee with oat milk. No hesitation, no confirmation, just memory applied carefully as if the habit had never left him. When he returned, he set the plate between them and slid the coffee toward Caleb like it belonged there. "You always said the foam mattered," he said, "that it made the whole thing feel slower." Caleb stared at the cup. "You remember." Harry shrugged lightly. "Some things stick, even when everything else is moving too fast." Caleb sat back, finally settling into the chair. The space between them felt intentional, measured, neither leaning in, neither retreating. Around them, the bakery moved gently, paper bags rustling, the bell over the door chiming, quiet holiday music threading through the air. A place designed for patience, for letting things rise instead of rushing them. "So, you're back," Harry said softly. "For the holidays, seeing my parents." Harry nodded. "I figured." Caleb frowned. "How?" "You always loved December and family time," Harry said, "even when you claimed you wouldn't come back. I had a feeling this month would bring you here. You said it made everything taste sweeter." Caleb broke off a piece of pastry, flakes scattered across the plate like snowfall. He took a bite. It tasted like home. That annoyed him. "How have you been?" Harry asked. Caleb considered the answer he'd been giving everyone else, then let it fall away. I stopped pretending I was fine. Harry nodded slowly. I stopped pretending I wasn't scared. The truth settled between them, heavy but clean, like dough finally allowed to rest. They dated for a year. A good year, mostly. A soft one. Harry was building his business then, long days, late nights, always half present even when he was there. He wasn't hiding Caleb exactly, but he wasn't fully open either, not in the spaces that mattered, not where futures were quietly decided. Caleb felt it slowly, how he became a background constant instead of something chosen, how affection turned efficient, how time together felt borrowed instead of shared. He didn't know how to ask for more without sounding needy, so he asked for less. Harry, for his part, hadn't noticed the quiet retreat. Or maybe he had, but told himself it was temporary, that once things stabilized he'd make space, that love could wait while foundations were being built. They drifted, not dramatically, slowly, like something left too long on the counter. "I didn't expect to see you here," Caleb admitted. "I thought you'd moved on from this place." "I tried," Harry said, "from us too, but I was always working towards something that never quite arrived." Caleb nodded. "When that job came up, it felt like a door I could walk through without asking permission." Harry looked down at his hands. "I knew if you took it, we wouldn't survive the distance." "And we both pretended that made it easier," Caleb said. They hadn't fought. They hadn't accused. They simply reached the same quiet conclusion, that love, as it was, wasn't enough to bridge what neither of them knew how to name. "I thought the job would fix things," Caleb said, "that leaving would give me clarity." "And did it?" Harry asked. Caleb shook his head. "It taught me how to be alone." Harry's fingers brushed the edge of his plate. "It taught me how to notice sweetness when it's offered, how not to let it go cold." They shared the chocolatines without comment. Harry didn't pretend not to enjoy them now. He ate slowly, deliberately, like someone who'd learned pleasure didn't have to be postponed. Outside, snow began to fall, soft and steady, settling instead of rushing. "I didn't stop loving you," Harry said quietly. "I just didn't know how to show up while I was building something else." Caleb nodded. "And I didn't know how to ask to be seen without feeling like I was asking you to give something up." They sat with that, let it cool, let it breathe. "Coffee tomorrow?" Harry asked. Not hopeful, just open. Caleb looked around the bakery, at the sugar-dusted counters, the warmth clinging to the air, the way nothing here was meant to be taken quickly. "Yeah, coffee tomorrow." They stood, put on their coats, no touching, no promises. Just the understanding that some endings weren't failures. Some were recipes paused mid-step, waiting for better timing, for gentler hands, and for the courage to admit what still tasted sweet.
Epilogue. Harry arrived early. That was new. He stood outside the bakery longer than necessary, watching his breath cloud the lenses of his glasses, watching people pass with a purpose he hadn't always understood. For years, mornings had been something to conquer, emails to answer, calls to make, problems that didn't care what season it was. Today, he let himself wait. When he stepped inside, the warmth hit him first. Butter, sugar, coffee. The same smell as yesterday, but different now. Less charged, less fragile. Caleb was already there, sitting by the window. Same quiet focus, like he was choosing stillness on purpose. Harry felt the familiar pull in his chest, not sharp this time, steadier, like something finally settling where it belonged. He walked. Over. Caleb looked up and smiled, just slightly. Harry sat. For a moment, he didn't speak. He let himself notice things instead. The way Caleb held his cup with both hands, the plate between them, the flake of pastry on the table neither of them rushed to brush away. They'd been together for a year, long enough for Harry to believe in the steadiness of it, even as he was building his business through long days and late nights, always reaching for something just ahead of him. He hadn't meant to hide Caleb, but he hadn't fully claimed him either, uneasy about what visibility might cost during a fragile moment in his career. He had told himself it was temporary, that once things stabilized, he would show up fully. He hadn't realized how quiet neglect could be. "I don't want to build things alone anymore," Harry said, finally. It wasn't a confession, just a truth placed carefully on the table. Caleb didn't rush to answer. Harry respected that now. When Caleb spoke about not wanting to disappear to feel chosen, Harry understood finally what that year had cost them both. Not love, visibility. Harry had learned a lot in 2 years, about patience, about success that tasted hollow when there was no one to share it with, about how sweetness didn't leak in focus, it softened the edges enough to breathe. He broke off a piece of chocolatine and offered it to Caleb without comment. Caleb took it. That small exchange felt louder than any promise. They didn't define anything. Harry didn't ask where this was going. He didn't need to. For once, he wasn't building toward something abstract. He was sitting inside it. When they stood to leave, Harry noticed how easily their steps matched as they walked out together. No effort, no negotiation. Outside, the cold waited, but it didn't feel punishing. Harry glanced at Caleb, then back at the street ahead. For the first time in a long while, he wasn't afraid of going slow. Some things didn't need to be scaled. Some things just needed to be chosen, again, with intention, while they were still warm.
And that was today's story, one of 10 stories gently leading us toward Christmas. If this moment stayed with you, feel free to leave a comment or share it with someone who enjoys stories told from the heart. We'll meet again tomorrow for another encounter, another quiet spark, and one step closer to Christmas. Until then, take care and leave a little room for softness.